next up, we're going to be talking, we're going to dive a little deeper into advocacy land. And so first up, I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on, and CJ also is going to talk a little bit about what's going on in terms of activism in cancer, in metastatic breast cancer land. As many of you know, this week was Metastatic Breast Cancer Awareness Day on Thursday. And MetaViver and Meta both participated in, along with the Metastasis Research Society and some other partners, participated in activities in Washington, D.C. CJ and I both flew out here yesterday, so we're going to be here for today after our big event on Thursday on the Hill. And so I'm going to actually invite CJ to come up first and talk a little bit about the advocacy work that MetaViver has been helping lead this year, and where we're at in terms of the sort of political side of cancer.
Hi, I'm delighted to be here today to speak with you. And whoops, am I going backwards? Or okay, here we are. Okay, so this is a little about who we are and where we're going. MetaViver actually began as a support program. I was diagnosed with a metastasis to my lung in 2006. And found absolutely no support out there, and said, you know, this is pretty outrageous. My hospital has 5 programs and they don't have any for metastatic patients. So I told my doctors, hey, you know, when you get metastatic patients, give them my phone number and tell them to contact me. And within 24 months, we were 24 women in that group. And we started what we call a peer support group that's running entirely ourselves. We don't have an outsider, excuse me, as a facilitator. And so it's patients basically getting together for social reasons. We get together 3 times a month, and when we're together, we can talk about all of our issues, and hey, if you tried this drug, you like your oncologist, I like mine, you want his name, you know, that type of thing. It's been fantastic. Over the years, since 2006, we've probably had about 100 members. Of course, people pass away, but we average about 30 or 40 people in the group, and it's been wonderful for us. So I got the idea actually in 2007, couldn't afford it at the time, that we need an identity. I mean, where's our identity out there in the sea of pink? And so we created a ribbon pin, and the concept of this ribbon pin, and thousands have sold since then as a fundraiser. And the ribbon pin, the green base, there's a teal and green base. The green stands traditionally for immortality because it's the return of spring after every winter when things die off. So it's immortality. And the teal stands for spirituality and healing in various languages. Teal's associated with those. And so what we did was we created that to represent metastasis. Now, since our metastasis began with breast cancer, we decided we'd put a pink ribbon over the top to signify that. And our concept was that we have far more in common with other metastatic patients than we do with primary breast cancer patients. And therefore, other cancer types who are metastatic could take that base ribbon, replace the pink with their color, and our unifying symbol would, of course, be the base ribbon, and we'd recognize each other. And we haven't pushed that out there as much as we should have yet. We still hope that that catches on and does become a unifying factor for our disease. The next thing that struck me, though, in January 2007, you know, I had a lobectomy. I had the whole lobe of my lung pulled out to take the metastasis with it. And one morning while I was recovering from that, January 13th, 2007, I heard a Dr. Sanjay Gupta special. And on that, he said that less than 0.5% of the $5 billion National Cancer Research Fund went to any stage 4 cancer. We're talking all cancer types combined. And that just stopped me in my tracks. I just couldn't believe it. I thought, this is absolutely outrageous. There I'd been thinking that at least people are working on research, and it became very apparent to me in that moment that no, they weren't. And I tracked down the person who had been quoted. It was an advocate called Clifton Leaf, and said, is anybody doing anything for metastatic cancer? And he said, well, you need to talk to my friend Danny Welch. Danny Welch, as a PhD, he works now, he's at the Kansas University Medical Center now. He was at that time the president of the Metastasis Research Society, renowned career metastasis researcher. And I wrote Danny a letter. He gave me his email, and I sent him an email within an hour. I had this lengthy email back, and that has begun a lifelong friendship. But he told me all about the Metastasis Research Society. And that society is basically, it's like the American Association for Cancer Research, it's like the AACR, but it's only for career metastasis researchers. Okay, so that is a fabulous society. So we thought, well, we're going to begin raising money for research. So we started doing a lot of fundraisers, and at the next meeting for the Metastasis Research Society, it was in Vancouver, BC, it's every 2 years at different locations. I went up, and this is what I was able to throw together, stuff off the computer, taped to boards and everything. But I went up there and I talked to these researchers, and it was fabulous. And very shortly thereafter, in 2009, 3 of us co-founded Metaviver as a nonprofit with a primary mission of funding metastatic breast cancer research, specifically for the already metastasized patient and trying to find better solutions. Also focused on raising awareness, so advocating for awareness, because without that you're not going to raise the money, and also expanding our support programs. So we awarded our first research grant to Danny. He's got a great sense of humor. In 2010, and then in 2011 we awarded 3 more grants to Alana Wilm, another well-known metastasis researcher, and Andrea Mastro. We also wanted to stay informed, so we visit a lot of research labs, and this is the lab from Yibin Kang at Princeton University. We're on the East Coast, so it was easy to drive up. And we handle our grant process like the big organizations. We put out a request for proposals every January. They come in. We accept for full proposals the ones that look promising. We only want truly exceptional ideas. And then we have career metastasis researchers and oncologists and patient advocates that meet by video teleconference. It doesn't cost us a penny. And they do it out of their generosity from where they live, and they then tell us what we're going to do. And one of the doctors today was talking about models, how there's so few of them. And we found out that there were only 1 or 2 mouse models for liver metastases out there, which was outrageous. And so we did do, last 2 years, we've done grants specifically for mouse models. We do a lot of grants each year, but we had one specifically designated for mouse model for liver metastases. So here's our grant history. We've awarded $2.4 million so far for research grants. It's gone up every year. This past year we gave out $1 million. We'll be announcing our 2016 grants now very soon. And in last year we took a trip across country, entirely paid for by pharmaceutical companies, and we now have nice displays, etc. Again, all paid for by grants and sponsorships to us. And we visited all 14 researchers that we had funded at that time and talked to them about the research they had done, and it was really fascinating. We did in 2014 also partner with the Metastasis Research Society. They requested our partnership. It was the first time they partnered and the first time we partnered. And together we've done a number of things to include this latest legislative initiative we'll explain in just a minute. And we also started a patient researcher tweet chat that we're doing every second month now. And we've only done 2 so far. It's a new initiative, but we'll be putting the information out on that widely pretty soon. And we'll also pass it through Meta so that you're sure to get the information on that. But it's a great tweet chat. And it's Western world right now, Europe and the US. We do put 100% of every donation into our research grants. We do not spend a penny of any donation on anything else but our research grants. So we work out of our homes off personal computers. We don't get paid except for our CEO, and she is paid through a sponsorship also from a pharmaceutical company. So everything we spend outside of the grant money is from grants, sponsorships and grants that we receive. So just that you know where your money's going if you donate. That was the easiest way to do it, to make it clear to everyone. We also build awareness. We've met with state legislators, have been invited overseas to talk to people, and we developed a peer-to-peer program, which you're welcome to contact me about. We now have a webinar free of charge. We train others to establish their own local programs peer-to-peer, and people have found it really wonderful. So that's the peer-to-peer program. Now what we have is our newest exciting development, which we were just talking about. We got the sponsorships we put out for them to get the money to hire the Health Medical and Council in Washington. And this is a firm that works strictly on health issues on the Hill to help us. So we have hired them, and we now have a year-long contract with us, which is just the beginning of a brand new awareness program we're beginning. And we launched that on Metastatic Breast Cancer Awareness Day on Thursday, and we visited congressional Senate offices from 40 states. We had representatives, patients who came in from all these different states to talk to them, and we pressed 4 issues with them. We want to increase the NIH funding because we're not going to be able to get them to break down that pie any more than it's already broken down. We want new funding in so that we can get some of that extra money that's going in to go into research for our community. We also put in a letter, we asked them to support a letter, and a number of them have already signed off on it, and that is to ask the NCI to detail where the money's going, precisely what's going into metastasis research. Our time's up, so I'm going to finish this really quick. Also, we asked them to co-sponsor and support the Right to Try Act, and that is things that have not yet been approved, medicines that haven't been approved, to allow you to try them. If it's late in your treatment, things aren't working, we want you to be able to try that if that's your choice. And to co-sponsor and work to advance Social Security Disability Act to give you immediate Social Security disability with no wait period. Those are the ones. We've got additional ones we're working on also: affordable health care, increasing awareness in Capitol Hill, improving drug development pipeline to facilitate new treatments, and getting a network of grassroots advocates where we can really push the policymakers to do what we need them to do. So we've got a big agenda this coming year, and there's all sorts of sub-bullets to all these, which I won't go into. We want the world to really realize 1/3 of us are metastatic, and we want it very clear to them who we are and what we're doing, and our colors are reflected. People light them up at various places every year. And I want to thank you for your attention.
Okay, and just so you guys know, there are some brochures from Metaviber and also from Metastasis Research Society out on the tables outside. So you might want to take one of those flyers back to your oncologist and see if they would be interested in joining. If they're treating metastatic patients, perhaps they would like to, be kept up to date on the latest metastasis research. So thank you, CJ. And so as somebody who co-founded MedUp, we're modeled on ACT UP from the 80s. At the height of the AIDS crisis in the 1980s, the number of people who died each year from AIDS in America was 40,000. That's how many people die every year of metastatic breast cancer, and have for every year for the last 40 years. So we have not seen a decline in that real number of deaths since they began tracking in 1975. And so we are so pleased. MedUp has been connected with Metaviber from the beginning, and we have always been, anytime someone comes to MedUp and says, how can I support metastatic research, I send them to CJ and I send them to Metaviber. So we're really glad to have you here. So next up, we're going to talk a little bit about different ways to be an advocate. So you've seen CJ, and you've seen me, and you've seen some of the other folks. We've seen folks from Common and Metastatic Breast Cancer Alliance. And you may think that what an advocate looks like is someone like me who stands up in front of an audience and talks to the press and talks to audiences and organizes things and walks all over Capitol Hill and does that kind of advocacy. But that's really just one way to be an advocate. And I think it's important that we understand there are a lot of different ways to be advocates. I actually came to cancer advocacy from a background as a civil rights attorney. I used to work for the Federal Department of Education here in the federal building in downtown Seattle. I was a civil rights attorney for about 13 years for them. And then I got diagnosed metastatic from the start and took a disability retirement. And I sat around feeling sorry for myself for about a year. And then I heard about a training that an organization called Living Beyond Breast Cancer was putting on, called Hear My Voice. And I highly encourage every last one of you in the room who has metastatic breast cancer to apply for that program when it comes up again next year. It happens every April in Philadelphia. So I applied to it. I thought, I want to do something. I don't want to just sit around waiting for my treatments to fail, watching other people from my support groups pass away. I want to do something. So I went to this training, and the first thing they talked about was the many, many different ways that you can be an advocate. So it's not always just about political advocacy, and it's not always about being out there in the press. And some of us are quiet in our advocacy, right? Some of us are doing advocacy for ourselves, right? Self-advocacy is a kind of patient advocacy. Learning about your disease and being here today makes you a metastatic patient advocate. So I congratulate all of you for coming here and learning about how to advocate for your own treatments and your own best care. We are all our own best advocate, and so congratulations. You are all officially breast cancer advocates right now. Give yourself a hand. All right. You've been recruited. You've drunk the Kool-Aid. You're one of us now. And you can also be involved in different ways. You can be involved in your local community, at your local cancer center, at your local oncology office. You can work with other patients who are newly diagnosed and need somebody to sort of hold their hand and tell them, you know, I've been where you've been, and these are the things that helped me. You can be somebody who works doing scientific advocacy. You can be someone who works on research grants the way that Terry does, and she'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Or you can be someone like me who decided after that training that I was going to start a national grassroots advocacy organization committed to changing the landscape of metastatic breast cancer.